If you are a homeowner and have your mortgage renewal coming up and have some extra cash set aside, you probably ask yourself, is it better to make an extra payment towards your mortgage or invest that money towards your retirement? In fact, over the next year and a half, 44% of all mortgages will be up for renewal in Canada. The mortgage scene is a lot different from what it was 5 years ago. In May of 2019, the Bank of Canada's key interest rate sat at 1.74%. During the pandemic, the key rate dropped to 0.25%. It then climbed to a high of 5% and has recently decreased to 4.75% on June 5th of 2024. After running through the numbers, I was surprised with the outcome and wanted to share the results with you. In this video, we are going to go over whether you are better off making an extra payment towards your mortgage or contributing to your retirement fund. We will also be covering how much money you need to retire, taking into consideration your home costs. So let's get right into the calculations. Welcome to the tutorial portion of this video where I'll be going through the calculations in detail on whether it is more worthwhile to make that extra prepayment towards your mortgage or to invest that money into your retirement fund. So let's get started right away. Just some housekeeping here. How this template works is you would need to complete the cells in green. I have pre-populated a couple of them just to make things a little bit faster, but you would need to update these cells yourself in order for the rest of the template, which is in gray, to automatically calculate. So let's go over the assumptions because that's going to determine whether it's going to make it worthwhile or not. So the first assumption here is how much money you have set aside for this particular purpose. So let's say that you have $20,000 sitting in your bank account, and that's the amount that you're determining whether to prepay your mortgage or to put it towards your retirement fund. The second cell that you need to update is your annual living costs. So this is excluding your mortgage. So on an annual basis, how much are you paying towards groceries? How much are you paying towards car loans, other loans you have, other expenses that you have, etc. Let's say in this case, it's about $2,000 per month or $24,000 a year. And then you also need to update what your remaining mortgage amount is. So at the time of renewal, how much left do you have on your mortgage? And in this case, we put down $350,000. And this is also an estimate, but what is your expected mortgage interest rate? The annual rate here is 5.5%. Another assumption that we need to make is your investment rate of return. This is also an annual rate, and we put in 7%. Feel free to put down a more conservative amount like 5% or an amount on the higher end like 10%, but this is just an estimate for the time being. Also, your mortgage renewal date, let's say, is just around the corner on August 1st of 2024. And then you also need to input your current age. So let's say that you're 30 years old and how many years you have until retirement. So let's say that you hope to retire in 20 years, which means that you are 50 years old. Now, there are other assumptions made on this template. And the first note here is that mortgage payments are made on a monthly basis. I know that there are other options like bi-weekly, etc. We're just going to go with monthly because that is the more popular option. Note 2 is that investments are also compounded and contributed on a monthly basis. With this, I know that there are other options like daily, weekly, monthly, annually, etc. We're just going to keep it super simple and stick with monthly. However, if you like to change this assumption, you're more than welcome to go into the tabs and change it based on your liking, whether it's bi-weekly or annually, whatever the case may be. If you are familiar with Excel, for the time being, the template has been automated for monthly. Now let's jump into the first part of the analysis, which is whether it's worthwhile to put that $20,000 towards your mortgage or to invest that into your retirement. So the first part here is just taking amounts that you have inputted above, and that is your outstanding mortgage amount, which is $350,000, the amortization period, which is 20 years, which means that this is the number of years it will take for you to pay off your mortgage, the annual mortgage rate of 5.5%, and based on those assumptions, your monthly payment has been calculated to be $2,408. And keep in mind that this includes both principal and interest. And if you want a more detailed breakdown of how much goes towards principal and interest, you could go to mortgage payment amortization before, and it will give you a breakdown of the $2,408 of all the interest amounts from month to month, all the principal amounts, and then your balance. And then you can see by the end of 20 years or 240 months, you will have a $0 balance. And with that, we could compare to the scenario if you were to make make that lump sum payment towards your mortgage. So in that case, your mortgage will be $330,000 and not $350,000 after making that $20,000 prepayment. Your amortization stays the same with 20 years, and then your annual mortgage rate is going to be 5.5%. Now, with that, the monthly payment, so after the lump sum amount has been made, has been reduced to $2,270. And if you want to see more details here, then feel free to go to mortgage payment amortization after with the lower mortgage amount, and you can see the breakdown here. And so what does that mean? Since you paid a portion of your mortgage, you are paying less monthly payments, and that amount is $138. So that's a monthly savings from prepaying your mortgage. With those calculations, we can now go to the result summary. So how much is your mortgage interest savings? If you were to prepay your mortgage, that means that you are paying less in interest, and that means that you will be saving $13,018 in mortgage interest savings. And you can see that by comparing the interest payments here, which is $227,000, compared to total interest here, which is $214,000. And you can see here that while your principal is $330,000, you'll be paying $214,000 in interest, and so your total payments over the 20 years is $544,000. And in order to reduce this interest amount, the only way is to prepay your mortgage as fast as possible. So that is the mortgage interest savings. And when you prepay your mortgage, you also have additional savings from monthly mortgage payment reduction. And this is referring to the $138 here. And in this case, you would take the $138, you times it by 12, which is how many months there are in a year, and then you times it by the amortization period of 20 years. And you would get $33,000 that you save just because you're paying less in mortgage every month. And then the last component here is the additional savings invested. So let's assume that you take this $138 and then you actually decide to invest that towards your retirement every single month. And we actually calculated that amount to be $33,000 over a 20-year period, compounded at the market rate of 7%. You can see that it will make you $38,649 in compounded interest. So this is just the interest component only, and you can see the calculation over here. So let's say that you put towards the mortgage savings of $137 every single month for 20 years, compounded at 7% on a monthly basis. Your total payments would be $33,000, so that's the equivalent to the $33,000 here, and your return on that $33,000 over a 20-year period is going to be $38,000. So the total future value of the principal that you invested and the interest is going to be $72,000. But for the purpose of our calculations, we'll take $38,000 in order to prevent double counting certain benefits. So if you were to add up all the benefits of prepaying your mortgage, that is going to be $84,686. Let's say instead of prepaying your mortgage, you put that $20,000 towards investing in your retirement. In that case, your return is going to be $60,775, and you can find that in the tab here where you invest the $20,000 one time with the 7% return over 20 years, compounded on a monthly basis. Then in that case, your total interest is $60,774. And if you were to add the principal, the future value is expected to be $80,774. But in order to not double count the $20,000 lump sum payment, we're just going to be including the interest component only. So that is $60,775. So in this particular scenario, you can see that it's more worthwhile to put that money towards your mortgage instead of investing it. An important assumption that is made in this results summary is that you will actually be taking this $138 and you will be investing it diligently every single month. And that investment is going to grow over a 20-year period. Obviously, this won't be the case if you take that $138 and you spend it every month on other things and you don't invest it, then obviously you're missing out on this benefit here. So with all those assumptions, in this particular case, it seems like it's a little bit more worthwhile to be prepaying your mortgage. Now, the next part here is because your home is part of your FIRE, your financial independence, retire early, we're also going to be seeing how this is going to affect your ability to retire. So with taking the annual living expenses, so this is excluding mortgage, so let's say that the present value of that is $24,000 or $2,000 per month. The annual inflation rate of 2%, the future value of this in 20 years time when you retire is going to be $35,663 annually. Now 4% or 25 times is the standard multiplier in order to estimate what your retirement fund would be based on your living costs. So the total cash that you need at retirement would be $891,000. Now, let's say in order to have $891,000 at the time of retirement, how much would that value be at present value? So let's say with the 7% market rate return, you would need $220,754 in order to compound this at a 7% rate on a monthly basis in order to reach $891,000 in 20 years time when you retire. But let's say you don't have this amount right now and you actually need to be more proactive about saving towards your retirement. In that case, you would need to set aside monthly savings of $1,712, and that means that by the time you retire, your total savings that you put towards retirement is $410,761, but because of the compounding that occurred over time, you will reach your $891,000 fund. Now you can see that if you don't have this $220,000 investment that you could set aside until retirement, you would actually need to save almost double that amount over the course of 20 years. And that difference is $190,000. And this really plays into the effect of compounding has if you have a long time horizon. You can close this gap by trying to save as much as possible in a shorter amount of time so that you could let compounding do a lot of the heavy lifting. So now we are in the final stages of comparing two scenarios of seeing how much cash you need in order to prepare and plan for your retirement. The first scenario here is taking the mortgage payment. So this is $2,270. This is automatically taken from the scenario here where it's actually more advantageous to make that lump sum payment towards your mortgage. Even though there are two amounts, it will automatically take this since it was determined it is a better scenario. And your other monthly expenses of $2,000. And let's say that you have saved up this retirement amount of $220,000. In that case, your total monthly income required is $4,270. Now, I understand that this is not going to be the case where you have this amount saved up, but the purpose of this is just to share with you the range of income that you need. So obviously this is the lower end of the range. So in this case, you need total annual income of $51,240. This is after tax. Now, scenario two is that you haven't saved up for retirement, and based on this calculation, you need to put aside $1,712 each month in order to prepare for retirement. In that case, your monthly mortgage payments are the same, your other monthly expenses are the same, you are saving up $1,712 per month, then your total monthly income required is going to be about $5,982. So this is the higher end of the range of $71,778. So this is a range of your income needed in order to start preparing and saving for your retirement. If you are making more than $71,778, that's great. It means you could save as much as possible, pay off your mortgage faster, put more towards your retirement. If you don't have a retirement fund and you're not making at least $71,778 after taxes, it means that you need to start proactively plan for where you're going to find the extra funds to put aside for your retirement. However, if you don't have a retirement fund and you aren't making about $72,000 a year, you need to start being proactive and either increase your income, decrease your expenses so that you can start preparing for your retirement. Now, something that I do want to show you is that, while we came to this conclusion, this largely is affected by the assumptions that you make. So let's play around with the numbers a little bit. Say that the investment return rate is going to be higher. Let's say that it's going to be 8%. With that update, you can see how that number affects your calculation. You can see that the benefit has reduced, but it is still considered better to be prepaying your mortgage. Let's say that the market is doing really great and it's 10% a year. You can see it's actually better to be investing that money towards retirement, and it's actually a loss if you were to prepay your mortgage instead. You could also play around with other scenarios. Let's say that you want to retire sooner. You want to retire in 10 years time. That means that you will also need to be paying off your mortgage and saving for retirement at the same time within 10 years. And let's see how that affects the calculation. So in that case, it is still better to be paying off your mortgage. And then how much you need to be making is $109,000 if you don't have any retirement savings, or if you have this money set aside already, which is $270,000, you need the lower end of the income range, which is $66,976. Something that I want to emphasize here is to play around with the numbers and to see how different assumptions affect check your calculations so that you are prepared for both the worst case and the best case scenario, and that you don't simply go off of these calculations based on a set assumption, because that assumption can be subject to change. Now, if you found these calculations useful, make sure to hit the like button down below. And also, if you want access to this template, all the details will be in the description box down below. Let's now summarize our takeaways as well as compare the pros and cons of prepaying your mortgage versus investing that money into your retirement fund. Takeaways. Investment return uncertainty. The calculation largely depends on the investment return, which is difficult to predict. We can use historical average returns of 10%, but past performance isn't an indicator of future results. Time until retirement. The more time you have before retirement, the greater the effects of compounding on your investment. And this can significantly influence your decision. Sensitivity analysis. Perform a sensitivity analysis, which basically means to play around the factors that are uncertain, to prepare for both the worst case and best case scenarios. Some factors to play around with are market rate on your investment, how many years until retirement, as well as mortgage rate at renewal time. Let's also go over the pros and cons of each scenario. First, if you are prioritizing paying off the mortgage, the pros are having peace of mind. Having your biggest expense paid off faster can provide significant peace of mind. Another pro is having higher monthly cash flow. Fixed monthly costs can dramatically once your mortgage is not part of the picture, which increases your disposable income. Now, the cons are the loss of compounding effect. You miss out on the potential compounding effects of large sums of money, especially if the market performs better than expected. Also, there is the con of opportunity cost, where you can lose the opportunity to invest the money in other ventures, such as a second property, a business, or even the option to just quit your job. Another con is illiquid cash. The cash is tied up in your home, and accessing it would require a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit, which means you need to make interest payments if you were to take money out, or selling the home, which is not an easy feat. Investing in retirement. The pros are the compounding effects. So the investments benefit from compounding over time, especially if it's a longer time horizon. There is retirement security, since investing in your retirement provides peace of mind for your future. Also, to some degree, it's liquid cash and it offers flexibility. So the investments are more liquid and can be accessed more easily, though you may need to pay some taxes if they are in registered accounts. A con is higher fixed monthly expenses, especially if you don't prioritize paying off your mortgage, and especially since as mortgage payments continue, this can be a burden in today's higher interest rate climate. Another con is the market uncertainties. The market rate of return is uncertain, so there's a fear of missing out if the market doesn't perform well or even incurs losses in certain years, compared to a somewhat guaranteed return of paying off your mortgage faster. If you found the analysis helpful, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more content like this. And also remember to check out the description box on how to access the template. And in the meantime, I think you will really enjoy watching this video over here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!